Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media. We're happy that you joined us today, and we are so excited to bring today Jonathan J., who has been an entrepreneur since dropping out of university at age 19. Now 50 years old, he has built businesses in publishing, digital marketing, adult education, coaching, and preschool education, and sold each of them. During the pandemic, he made 48 business acquisitions to create the fourth largest group in his sector in under 3 years. He is an advocate of a healthy work life balance, having experienced mental and physical burnout, and believe you can achieve success without business taking over your life. That is wonderful news because a lot of business owners have it twisted. So, welcome, Jonathan. We can't wait to embark on and plus you have a book out, Business Buying Strategies: How to Buy a Business Without Risking Your Capital.
I do indeed. Hi, Ida. Good to be here.
Hi, how are you? Good
I'm
to
very good.
good to meet you as
Thank you.
well. Wow. So, how did you get on this road of where you are now?
Well, I never wanted to work for anyone else. That was the start of it all, I think. And my parents were business owners, and I didn't see them work a 9 to 5 ever. So I guess I didn't grow up in the traditional environment of someone who gets up, goes to do the corporate job, retires at 65. I think my dad was working, well, he was working maybe till he was 80, but through choice because he wanted to.
Yes, well, that's definitely good influence because if you see nothing else, you tend to, as a child, grow up already with certain things instilled in you. So that was awesome. I wish I would have had that opportunity. So, buying a business, a lot of people don't even think about that. They typically think about starting a business.
Sure.
So, is it really possible to buy a business, and how do entrepreneurs do so?
But yeah, sure. So businesses are bought and sold every day, just like real estate is. It's no different. Everyone knows with real estate, you have to have a deposit, a down payment, and you have a mortgage, a loan for the balance. And you either qualify for the loan or you don't qualify for the loan, and that's how real estate is done. However, business buying in many ways actually is a lot simpler. So you don't necessarily need a down payment. In many cases, you don't. You can negotiate your own terms. You don't have to borrow money from the bank. And the returns are so much better. So in real estate, you might have a sort of a family unit and make a few $100s a month. But with a business, depending upon the size of the business you buy, I mean, I've got clients making $100,000 a month profit per month from businesses that they've bought without investing any of their own capital. So that's because they bought a large business, the one I'm thinking of. They have annual revenues of $8 million, but you can buy a smaller business with, say, $1 million of revenue and make $150,000 a year. So it really depends how ambitious you are and how far you want to go with this. And I have clients who bought 10 plus businesses. In fact, I think the most any one client has bought is 35 businesses.
Wow, that's amazing. And since this option, I guess, has been brought to my attention, it's probably been around for ages. I noticed in the community, businesses changing hands. Uh, so basically, I have a lady that I get my vacuum cleaner fixed, and she's really good. And then one day I rode by, and it's a whole different sign, the whole 9 yards. So, in a small business environment, how do people acquire businesses that way?
Well, I probably wouldn't recommend that you buy a very small business, because usually when you buy a business that's run and managed by the owner, you're actually buying a job. You don't think you are. You think you're buying a business, but really it's a job, because without the owner there is no business, and the business can't afford to put in someone to run it. So you end up being there every day, and
Mhm.
A lot of business people think they've got a business, but they haven't really, because when they go on holiday, the business stops. They don't turn up for work that day, the business stops. So they aren't really businesses at all. They're just jobs pretending to be businesses.
Mm.
So what I always say to people is you need to go a little bit bigger. You need to go for larger businesses, and a good threshold is $1 million. As soon as you get over $1 million of annual revenue, that's going to be a business that's proven something. It's proven that it can
Mhm.
go beyond one person, one individual. It employs people. It has some sort of management. It could be as simple as an office manager, or there could be a CEO, there could be a CFO, chief financial officer. And as you get bigger businesses, you'll find those businesses are more profitable as a general rule, and they're better run, which means that when you buy the business, it will continue to run without the owner and will continue to make money for you. And that's the most important thing. If you buy a business, it doesn't make money for you. Why have you bought it?
Yes, and that makes good sense because I mean, you don't want to be, that's the difference between starting a business. Sometimes you are everything. You're wearing all the hats. And I guess the same applies to buying a smaller business. You still wearing all the hats. And as you stated, when you're not there, the business is not running.
Exactly.
And you're probably not making a great income in addition to that.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, if you've got a business that has annual revenues of 20 of $100,000 and it's making a 20% margin, so making $20,000 a year. I mean, $20,000 a year is nothing to get excited about. But if it's a
Mhm.
business making or turning over annual revenue of $1 million a year, and it's making $200,000 a year, that starts to move the needle. That starts to pay off the mortgage. That starts to buy the holiday home. That puts the kids through college. So that starts to make a difference. But here's the thing: it's actually easier to buy the $1 million business than it is to buy the $100,000 business,
Wow.
because it's a better business, and you can get finance for better businesses. You can't get finance for very small businesses.
Wow. Wow. That is great. So can anybody buy a business? What's the criteria in
Well,
terms of buying a business?
anyone who wants to, anyone who's prepared to put the effort in, anyone who's prepared how to learn how to do it. It's not a sort of a get rich quick, close your eyes, open them, and you're a millionaire. It's not like that at all. It requires effort, like any business requires effort.
Mhm.
And then deciding what's going to happen once you've bought the business. So that's often when the hard work really starts. And we do a lot of our programs about what happens in that first 100 days, because once you own the business and the previous owner is no longer around, that's when you discover all the things that the owner was hiding when they sold the business, all the things that were hidden. Now you do something called due diligence, which is checking that the business that you're being sold is what you think it is, but that will never cover absolutely everything. So yes, anyone can buy a business if they're willing to dedicate the time and the effort to do so.
Absolutely. So how do you find a great business? What should you do?
Well, the worst place to look are the websites and the business brokers where they advertise businesses for sale. It looks like the easiest route because they are advertised for sale. Here's a willing seller. I'm a willing buyer. It looks very easy to do. However, because they're advertised for sale, there's going to be lots of other people looking at those businesses. And because they're advertised for sale, they're represented by a business broker who's a professional at selling businesses. Now, if you've never bought a business and you're going to go into a negotiation with a professional at selling businesses, you're not going to come out of that well. That's not going to work very well for you. So you need to be going what we call off market, which means finding businesses to buy that are not yet advertised for sale, where the owner is thinking about selling but hasn't actually done anything about it yet. So we find these people by doing outreach. We go out to hundreds, thousands. Some of my clients go out to tens of thousands of businesses, And as a result, you find the people who are interested in selling. I'll give you an example. So one of my clients this week, just 2 days ago, closed on a deal. And this was a $2.5 million annual revenue manufacturing business. She'd never owned a manufacturing business before. She was a life coach. And the business makes $400,000 of profit a year. That's before taxes. And she bought this business without using a penny of her own money because she just followed what I told her to do. And as a result of that, as of 2 days ago, she is the proud owner of a business that makes $400,000 before taxes. Now, there's going to be some costs there, not to her, but to the business. But she's got something that will replace, probably be more than her income as a life coach. And she's starting a whole new chapter of her life.
Wow, that sounds exciting indeed. So, if people want to work with you, how do they connect with you?
Well, the best place to find me is on YouTube. So I've got over 200 videos on YouTube, all about buying a business, hundreds of interviews with people who've been on my programs, have gone out and bought businesses. And if you want some free education, that's the place to go. And if you want to do something else with me, well, you can find my details on the YouTube channel. So just put my name into YouTube, Jonathan J into YouTube, and you'll find me there.
Wow. So, do you also help businesses sell as well?
Not so much. I had a client last year who joined me on my mastermind program in 2019. He bought 17 businesses and just sold those 17 businesses together for over $12 million. Now, I didn't help him with that. I helped him get set up at the beginning to go out and do the buying. He did all the hard work, 17 acquisitions. He did all the hard work putting them together. But now he's enjoying the rewards of that, which not bad for 4 years work. They did all that in exactly 4 years.
Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. So, let's talk a little bit about your book, Business Buying Strategies: How to Buy a Business Without Risking Your Own Capital. What can people expect?
Well, it's a plan. It's a system. So everything I do is systemized, because the worst thing you can do when you buy a business is make it up as you go along, because that costs time, it costs money, and you
Mhm.
usually give up and fail, because people who make things up as they go along typically fail. So the very best way is to have a plan and a process. So every chapter of this book is a plan and a process, taking you all through the 21 steps of buying a business. And I've got to say, books will only get you so far. I think books will inspire you. Books will give you some practical information. I found that most people need a little bit extra help than buying just a book. I mean, it's like, for example, learning mechanics, how to fix a car. Well, you can read a book on it, but you don't really know how to fix a car until you open the bonnet and get your hands dirty, do you? So,
Absolutely.
so actually, the practical application is what makes someone a good business buyer. The theory only takes you so far.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of that, your masterminds, how do people get involved with that, and how often do you do those?
I do them every year. And the very best way to get involved is to go to my YouTube channel, watch some videos, and feel if it's right for you. You know, if you get a good feeling, if you're watching them and you're thinking, you know what, I want to do this. In the description below each video, there's a link to a free training. That's free as well. There's no cost. It's 45 minutes. And at the end of the free training, if you go, I still want to do this, I still want to do this, then there's a training that's just a few $100s. And that is enough for some people. And some people want to progress beyond that. But just for a few $100s, you can find out whether this is something that you really want to do.
Yes, yes. And that's important because buying a business is a big acquisition, and you don't want to go into it blinded, especially if you don't never bought a business. You definitely gonna need some hand holdings, to say the
Yeah,
least.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
because I mean, there's, like you said, you can read all day long, But until you put your hands in and start to get dirty, that's when the learning really begins. Absolutely. So, 48 acquisitions in less than 3
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, I mean, people ask me, what's your advice about doing 48 acquisitions in less than 3 years? Actually, it's 2.5 years, and I say don't do it. Don't do it. Um, the stress was unbelievable. My work-life balance was just terrible. I had stomach pains like you wouldn't believe. I never go to the doctor. I went to the doctor. The doctor said we need to go to hospital and have a colonoscopy. Now, of all of the medical procedures out there, the colonoscopy is one of my least favorite
Right?
procedures. If you're listening to this and you don't know what a colonoscopy is, look it up. It's not pleasant. Um, and they didn't discover anything. I thought it'd be maybe like an ulcer or something like that, but actually it was stress. And
Mhm.
that was when I thought, you know what, this is starting to damage me physically. This is not enjoyable anymore. So I built this business. It was actually 48 acquisitions in that period, but I did 5 before. So it's 53, 53 separate businesses. And but they were all under the same umbrella. And I just signed over ownership to my business partner. I gave her everything. I didn't ask for anything in return. I just gave them all to her. And it was the best decision I ever made. And now I'm semi-retired. I do the training of other people who need help buying a business. But I've got a great work-life balance. I pick my daughter up from school, which I was never doing before. I go and watch her play netball on Friday afternoons. I do all the things that I couldn't do before, which is wonderful.
Yes, and let's talk a little bit about that because, I've interviewed quite a few people that was grinding so hard until it put them in bad health, which you can't enjoy the fruits of your labor if you're not healthy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think when you're in your 20s, it's very common for people to say, work comes first, work comes first. But yeah, maybe that has a place for a few years. But if you don't get out of that attitude of work comes first, then your home life suffers, your relationships suffer, your
Mhm.
your relationship with your children suffer, and you've got to get everything in perspective. Work is just there to serve you. You are not there to serve work. And I think I've made some big mistakes along the way about being too focused on work, and I can't change those, but I can change the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, even though you went pushed yourself to the limits, you did accomplish quite a bit. You do have a lot to teach people. And you obviously caught it in time that you're able to salvage your relationships with your family. So that's really
Yeah,
important.
absolutely. I first sold a business nearly 25 years ago. First bought a business about 17 years ago. So I've been doing this a long time, and you sometimes forget that you're not as young as you used to be, and you're not as resilient as you used to be. And yeah, for me these days, a good night's sleep is a really important part of my 24 hours.
I feel you on that. Only time I burn the midnight hours is when I'm on a tight schedule and I'm trying to produce that one thing. Other than that, 10 o'clock, I'm shut down.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Me too. Me too.
So again, Jonathan, how do people connect with you and get involved with and learn more about buying a business?
Yeah, I mean, on my YouTube channel, I've got some long videos, like sort of 30-minute videos where I'm interviewing people who've been on my program, and they've come along into the studio to tell their story. There's also lots of short videos, like 1-minute videos, 3-minute videos with quick tips on business buying. And I think if you're looking for someone to help you on that journey to buy a business, you've got to feel as though you you get on well with them, because I spend a
Mhm.
year with people, sometimes 2 years, sometimes 3 years, sometimes longer. So you've got to get on with the person, and feel as though their approach to business matches your own.
Mhm.
Um, and different people different training styles for different people. So I guess if someone's still listening to this podcast and they're enjoying these stories, then check out the YouTube channel. So just type my name, Jonathan J, into YouTube, and I guess there's a few other people with the same name as me, but you'll find me soon enough, I guess.
Yes, and I'll be sure to put the exact link to your
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
YouTube in the show notes. Wow, Jonathan, this has been amazing. Uh, you got me ticking over here about buying a business. This is really an awesome opportunity. And I think it's worth people learning, especially if you don't want to go through the startup.
Yeah, exactly. So if you own a business already, buying another business is the fastest way to get growth, to scale, because you can double the size of your business with one acquisition. I've got one client, Russell, who's multiplied the size of his business by 6 in 18 months. So he's 6 times bigger than he was originally in 18 months with two deals. So and if you work for someone else and you're looking for a way to get out and get into business, starting a business is really hard work and doesn't always prove successful. So buying an existing business that already has customers, already has staff, already has an office, already has marketing, and already has cash flow is just so important. And if you buy that business, that cash flow is now yours. And that's the most important thing. When people start a business, typically they don't make any money for years sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
They lose money, if anything. So yeah, buying an established, profitable business is the best way to get into business.
Okay. And on that note, you've heard it from Jonathan J. I'm going to call you the buy business king. Because I mean 48 acquisitions, that's huge. That is very huge. So you obviously know what you're talking about. You've done it, you've proven it, and you can help other people do it. So thank you so much, Jonathan, for taking time with me. We appreciate it. And I know my audience is just going to really love this.
Thank you very much for having me on. Much appreciated.
Absolutely.